Okay, today is it's now just past 2 a.m. and it is on the 16th of March 2018. I just would like to record this bruise here on the knuckle of this. It's there. So this thing is a massive bruise on my hand, and this has just been shot into me. I was basically holding my hand like this above my head, protecting my head, and they kept shooting in. Now, one of the things I would like to say is I am here inside my bunker, okay, and where I was at the time of the shot is actually, this is an entire bag full of aluminium that I use for my protection. That's extra layer of protection. There's metal there. And I was on the floor, literally. I took this chair out and I was lying on the floor trying to basically protect myself from the shots, lying on here, totally surrounded by 2 layers of aluminium. And nevertheless, the shots that they managed to fire into my head was so they basically fired through my hand. The bruise you can see on this knuckle there at the base of the finger is when they shot through my hand. Now, these are shots that were aimed specifically at my head and must have gone through several layers of aluminium. Okay, so you can just see the big, big, big bruise. It's just forming now. It's just turning black now here. So it's that bit. Okay. And this is the battering I received. It was not aimed at my knuckle here. It was aimed at my head. Okay, and this is the battering I received because I have publicized today on the Techno Forum. So this is how I have to sit now, okay, because they continue to shoot into my head. The reason why I'm up at 2 a.m. is because I was on the Techno Forum until about 8 p.m. I had lots of work to do after that. And but what they did is they turned on all my head chips and were working them so insanely, and that's why I have to wear this to also block the signals to my head chips, that I felt physically sick. So for revealing that Jonathan Sumption, who's now a Supreme Court Judge, is stalking or was stalking me in Oxford repeatedly, and even turned up 50 meters from my home in Munich years later. For that, I have been intensely tortured, and they were actively trying to shoot. So you have to see it properly here. So I have to flex the finger for you to be able to see the bruise, because it's actually deep, and you can see it just misses the knuckle and goes down there. So there's the bruise. Okay. Now this is what, but they were not shooting at my hands. They were shooting at my head. So basically, I was lying on the floor, cowering like this, with metal on my head, metal around me. I could hear loud bangs of shots bouncing off everywhere, and eventually they shot through, and I could see light flashes as the electromagnetic energy was triggering my optical nerve. My muscles were jolting every single time a pulse was fired into me. And then eventually they settled on my head, and they were just barraging. I could hear loud bangs of the metal around my head region. And then at some point, they just kept shooting at the same point that was actually hitting here. But also I had this kind of protecting my head, and that's when they shot in. So, you know, the bruise that is now forming there, right, that thing was actually aimed at my head, and my hand was in the way. So actually my finger joints are being demolished because you put up your hand first, you know. So also you can notice that you can't see the bruise, but if I flex it, you can see it appear there, because it's actually, sorry, the light levels have to be right there, because it has to be, it's just forming now. So when, you know, basically color correction makes it disappear, but it's there. Okay, it's like this thing. So anyway, this is brutal retaliation here in Switzerland for exposing the fact that I was stalked in the UK and in Germany by a Supreme Court judge. So the mafia connection between the Swiss intelligence agency and MI6 is entirely interwoven. They are part of one mafia. So I now had to have, I've just brought this cover to pull it over me like a shawl, because they are shooting into me, and I could feel my tissue pop every single time a shot was fired into me. But this amount of shooting is nothing compared to the barrage that I received between something like 8 p.m. and midnight. So for 4 hours, there was just a non-stop barrage of my body. And now they have calmed down at 2 a.m. But I just would like to record that I have been physically injured. And, you know, I receive these sort of bruises. I wake up with them. I also receive them throughout the day when I'm just sitting here at my desk after painful assaults. And you can see small gaps. I mean, you have to have small gaps, you know, left and right, like there as well, for air to come in. But when you've got military lasers, they are reflecting, you know, 100 times without losing their collimation and their intensity. So, you know, this is how they can, maybe they also have ways to shoot through, you know, several layers. I have no idea. This is technology I'm not familiar with at all, but either way, they are causing me physical damage, and this is now direct retaliation for the revelations today on the Techno Forum, which I made in the second half, about my assaults, you know, being related to Jonathan Sumption, the Supreme Court Judge in the UK, and then also Sir John Scarlett by induction, because this is, you know, MI6 methods, and it has affected me gravely for years in the UK, and then followed me to Germany and now to Switzerland, but also with attacks in Spain, in Italy, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, and in France on the French motorway as well. So this seems to be, you know, the work of an organization with a global reach, and there's Sir John Scarlett gloating publicly about MI6 having capabilities everywhere. But now my entire life is confined in this. There's a second protective layer of reflectix around this. So I've got a, you know, a cover and then also an outside panel, but it's still not enough to actually stop the shots from these psychopaths. Yeah, so now I'm uploading the affidavit by Gerald Sosby, who is actively, you know, and openly writing about the psychopathy and the rampant criminality of FBI and CIA. And that is very much true of all other intelligence agencies, because we now know that they're actually all one big organization. They are detached from the governments, and they are an organized crime ring that has a global reach. But my personal targeting started with British intelligence first, and expanded. And I think the missing link is basically Jonathan Sumption and Sir John Scarlett. So for revealing that today, I have been physically mutilated. I need to keep this on my head. I also discovered that it takes about at least half an hour for the chips to stop doing whatever they are doing when you're covering them. For those people who don't believe I've got chips on my head or in my head, please go to my YouTube channel and look for Nazi implant detection, that video series where I've measured these. I also have measurements from a Belgian university in a professional Faraday cage that show that there are high frequency signals coming out of my body. Yes, this is it basically. So I just would like to record the attacks on me, and I'll continue working, yeah, as best as I can before these Nazi psychopaths murder me. But yes, so by induction, the people responsible for the attack are people related to Sir John Scarlett and MI6, who are operating through the Nachrichtendienst des Bundes. This is Swiss intelligence. Yeah. So Swiss intelligence, for most part of my targeting, was run by Markus Seiler, and I think he left office, I think in December or November. So I have to find out who the new head is. But Markus Seiler is certainly responsible for the attacks on me, and you know, he's working with MI6 in Britain. These people are serial killers and Nazi psychopaths, and they have to be stopped, really, as quickly as possible.